Hey guys, this week we have a 2024 Dodge Hornet RT. Now, the RT is one of the first new generation Dodges that kind of show what the brand's future will look like. It's no longer full of HEMI V8s, burning rubber muscle cars. It's electrified with tops 6-cylinder engines. Now, what we're working here today with is Dodge's compact SUV that is basically a cousin to the Alfa Romeo Tonale. This Italian-made American SUV shares the platform with the Tonale, as well as many body elements and powertrain. Now we have two powertrain options in the Hornet. We get a base GT model that has a 268 horsepower, 2-liter 4-cylinder. It's obviously a turbocharged unit that's made to a 9-speed conventional automatic. All-wheel drive is standard. You can also get this RT variant, which back in the day stood for road and track, but for an SUV, is that a road and track vehicle? I don't know, we're gonna find that out. Anyways, this thing is powered by a plug-in hybrid powertrain. So we have a 1.3-liter turbocharged engine up front that has 4 cylinders. And we have electric motor in the back, producing combined powertrain output of 288 horses. No CVTs, like in some rivals. Here we get a conventional 6-speed AC unit. This Hornet is a fully loaded model, which means we have adaptive suspension and upgraded brakes, as well as Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. Since we're on my favorite back road, let's put it into sport mode and see how this thing drives. You can definitely feel that Alfa Romeo had something to do with the chassis tuning here, as the body control is pretty well balanced. We don't get that much body roll. The car stays surprisingly stable in corners. The steering is good and gives us a decent amount of feedback, something that I wouldn't necessarily expect from an SUV made by Dodge. But is it really made by Dodge? One thing for sure though, the powertrain doesn't necessarily feel like it has almost 300 horsepower. You do get a nice amount of torque from that electric motor, but besides that, I don't really know. We have a special power boost mode, which we can activate by pulling both paddle shifters. That apparently ups the power to 300 and something. Does it really? I can't tell. The brakes are nice, given they are a brake-by-wire system. There isn't some weird tuning. I mean, the engine itself is also tuned pretty well. It doesn't have any dips in power. The front and back tuck to each other. There's obviously no mechanical drive shaft. It's an all-wheel drive system, meaning the engine up front powers the front wheels, and the rear axle is powered by the electric motor. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. It's not sucking your soul out of you, unlike some CUVs in the segment. But is it super inspiring to drive? I don't know. I would rather be in a Durango Hellcat than this, but the times are changing. So, as we slow down, let's put it into one of the e-drive modes. We have electric, which is a fully electric mode. Right now, unavailable. Looks like we're out of the battery. We can put it into the e-save mode, which uses the engine as your main your source of power, and recharges battery. Hybrid, self-explanatory. The car is gonna flip between electric motor and the internal combustion engine. It does it pretty smoothly. The power transition is seamless, which I really like. Same with the transmission. It's very smooth, comfort-oriented. And let's talk about what it's like to drive the Hornet on a daily basis. It's not a bad car. You can definitely feel it's European. It is more on a stiffer side, but in a good way. We get adaptive dampers in my tester, as it has the RNT blacktop track package, whatever Dodge calls it. I don't even remember at this point, but they get a little bit softer in the regular comfort driving mode. The suspension soaks up all the bumps quietly. The cabin is pretty well isolated. There is a little bit of wind noise once you get to speeds of like 75, 80 miles an hour, but this is a compact SUV from a mainstream brand. But is it? Because the pricing may not suggest that Hornet is a value proposition like Dodge's products were in the past. As tested, we are looking at almost $56,000, which is a lot, and I'll tell you right away, I would never pay even $50,000 for this. Given how this is built, I can see this being a $35,000, $36,000 car, but not extra $20,000, especially given the car like Toyota RAV4 Prime exists, which is far better, has much more space, and overall is a better product. It's more reliable. It's a Toyota. This with FCA / Stellantis quality, we don't know what the future will look like. But that's just my take on it. Objectively, the cabin is a very good space to be at. Obviously, you have some switches from older Fiat models. You have door handles and those elements from Alfa Romeo, but that's not a bad thing. They're good quality products. The whole cabin feels to be well bolted together. There isn't any creaks, any squeaks, any rattles. You feel like you're in a nice space. You have good quality materials. Everything that you interact with is nice and soft to the touch. We get nice metal paddle shifters. The seats are comfortable. Being 6'1", I have no issues finding a good seating position. In the back, it's tiny, and I don't know how Dodge classifies this as a compact SUV. In the back, you have more of a subcompact SUV amount of space. You get rear vents, you get USB Type-C charging port, armrest, things that you kind of expect from an SUV, but the space just isn't there. Technology implementation is great. You get fairly customizable digital gauge cluster. You can display full screen navigation map. You can get all the information that you need, such as how is your powertrain working. You can, as I mentioned, have that map displayed over here, current fuel economy, and here you can have some supportive data such as compass, your trip information, tire pressure. The main screen's the new Uconnect based system, which is using the Android Automotive OS. It's also a pretty good unit, has gotten better over time, much more responsive, provides you with all the information you need. Maybe not the most attractive looking one, but gets the job done. Thankfully, we still get physical controls for our HVAC, and one thing that I must admit is that this car is very easy to live with. It has a lot of physical controls. Things that really matter are not buried in the infotainment system, so it's pretty cool, well thought out cabin, wireless charger, USB Type-C and A ports, adjustable armrest. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of this car, but it's not a terrible product, and I'm trying to understand why it is the worst selling vehicle in America right now. Price probably has something to do with it. From the design standpoint, it is attractive. Not as good looking as the Alfa Romeo, but it's a decent looking car, and maybe it's just a transition product for Dodge before they get rid of all those V8s and become more electrified. Thankfully, they're not only going to be offering electric vehicles, there's going to be the Hurricane 6-cylinder engine under the hood of the new Charger, which will come in the form of a sedan and a two-door coupe. But that's to come. Anyways, I encourage you guys to watch my full review of the Hornet. The link in the top right corner. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.